Tally-ho, Joolz Guides here, in which I wander around London and tell you fascinating facts. Now today we're starting here at St James's Park station and we're going to wander around past Buckingham Palace all the way around through Victoria and sort of end up somewhere around there. You'll see. Anyway, look, behind me is number 55 Broadway. Now that was built around 1929 by Charles Holden. He's the guy who was responsible pretty much for a lot of the look of the London Underground. But he also commissioned some of those famous artists like Eric Gill and Jacob Epstein to do these sculptures on the wall. So you can see, I think those are by Gill, the ones up there of various winds blowing, and there's the other ones by Epstein, which are night and day. Anyway, that one above the entrance apparently had quite a big willy, and at the time it caused so much outcry that Jacob Epstein had to go up a ladder with a chisel and perform reductive surgery on him. I think they're rather good now. It was built as the headquarters for what was then, was it the Tram and Railway Company? Anyway, you know, Transport for London Transport. You'll be surprised to hear that the London Transport have moved out in 2020 and they're turning it into luxury flats, or they're turning it into a luxury hotel. Anyway, it's a luxury of some sort. The ground floor level, you can still see all the lovely Art Deco look to it. And opposite, across the road here, now it says number 50 there, but I think that used to be number 54, which was where MI6 was, between the wars. It was disguised as a kind of fire extinguisher factory or office. It used to just say fire extinguishers outside. And there used to be a guy who famously stood outside the station here selling matches, secretly taking photographs of people going in and out. But what he didn't realise, he was like a German spy, but what he didn't realise was all the people he was taking photos of were just sort of, I don't know, cleaners and, very low-level members. And Sir Stuart Menzies was the director during the war, and he had a house around the back. And that's where, like in Queen Anne's Gate, and that's where the main entrance was for all the proper high officers and main officials. So they'd go into his house and under a tunnel and then up here. But so this jolly old German spy only got photos of cleaners and people like that.
London pride has been handed down to us. London pride is a flower that's...
It's great. I really love this street. We're on Birdcage Walk here. It's called Birdcage Walk because this is where King James I had his aviary along here. But it was only in 1928 that they got rid of the law that said that only the King's Grand Falconer could drive up it. Lovely time of year, isn't it, Simon?
It is.
Look at that. I love the park. We're not really talking about it because we've done I've got a video about that park over there. If you watch my Westminster video, I walk from there and go all through Westminster. But we're going to head over here to, you can probably hear the band of the guards. Is it the Coldstream Guards? So we got the Wellington Barracks here, built in 1833, and they've got 5 different groups of guards. There's the Coldstream Guards, the Welsh, Irish, Scottish, and Grenadier Guards. Look, the Flanders Fields Memorial Garden, they've got soil from 70 World War I battlefield cemeteries in Belgium. And there's also the Guards Museum, which is a bit of a hidden gem, actually. Well, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get inside there. But look, they've got all the guards over there. I think they're changing the guard. Let's go and have a look. Amongst their many duties, one of them is to guard the monarch. And I think these guys must be the Coldstream Guards. They've got a red thing on their bearskin, the hat. I've mentioned Buckingham Palace in the thumbnail, so I've got to mention it in the video, of course. I don't normally cover these sorts of places, but Buckingham Palace was built in 1703, not that bit there. That's the new bit that was added by Queen Victoria, I think. It was only really used as the monarch's residence when Victoria moved in 1837. But before that, it was just built for some guy called John Sheffield, who was the Duke of Buckingham. It was just a house. It was like a country house. Then King George III bought it in 1761 as a present for his wife, Queen Caroline, not a bad gift. And then King George IV, that's Hugh Laurie and Blackadder, he wanted to use it as an actual palace. It wasn't until Queen Victoria came along, they added the little balcony there that you can wave on, and also the ballroom over there, that sort of sandstone cover bit. I think that's the ballroom. That's where you go to get knighted, and staterooms and all that sort of thing. Quite nice being a tourist in London, isn't it, Simon?
With the sun shining. And...
Yeah. Well, today's the spring equinox, so happy spring equinox, everybody.
So the flag is raised as well?
Oh, right, yeah. Well, the flag means, no, that's the Union flag, so that means that King Charles is not at home. Because if he was, then it would be the Royal Standard, which is the other one. Yeah. Next to Buckingham Palace here, that building there, number 10, Buckingham Gate, that's actually the headquarters of the Duchy of Cornwall. The head of the Duchy of Cornwall, I suppose, is the Prince of Wales. It's probably why you've got the Prince of Wales feathers above the door. Duke of Cornwall as well, Prince William? I think it's him. Anyway, I don't think he's allowed to actually sell the land and do stuff like that, but he gets an income from all these hundreds, thousands of acres of land that these estates that they own. One of which is Oval Cricket Ground, funnily enough, and Dartmoor Prison. So he gets a rent from them, I suppose. Not bad job if you can get it. Oh, anyway, let's go.
London pride means our own dear town to us, and our pride it forever will be.
This is beautiful in here, St James's Court. I think these days it's a hotel or residences of suites and residence, it says that. But it was built in 1900 as kind of places to stay for visiting dignitaries to Buckingham Palace, people who needed a place to stay. And it's got up here what is apparently the longest Sylvan scenario Shakespearean inspired frieze in the world, going all the way around there. I think it's A Midsummer Night's Dream and As You Like It. I don't know. I could say anything really. I don't think anyone's going to know, are they, from looking at it? Or maybe they will. Maybe they will.
It's getting weathered. It's disappearing.
Now that could do with a bit of restoration, Simon, you know? So what do they do there? Do they put the bricks there first and then they carve inside
Yeah,
into
it looks
the
like
brickwork
it.
whilst
It
it's
looks like
in
it.
situ?
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? In my whole life, I don't think I ever would have gone in there. I mean, I wonder who does. You might recognise this postbox in this house because this is where Patrick McGoohan is abducted at the beginning of The Prisoner. The Prisoner, I mean, fans of The Prisoner will definitely know it. It's in the opening sequence. I think he resigns from the government or something. And then he comes in here and he's collecting all his stuff. And then gas comes through the keyhole and he knocks him out and he wakes up in some mysterious place. Number 1, Buckingham Place.
Whoa, Eliza, see the coster bearers, vegetable marrows and the fruit piled high. Whoa, Eliza, little London sparrows, Covent Garden Market, where the costers...
Look at this wonderful building here, Simon, just tucked in. This school, founded in 1688 by, I believe, William Green, who was a brewer. This area was quite famous for its brewing. And he founded it to educate the children of his workers and the local poor. I don't think the building is from 1688, it's slightly later, maybe 1710 or so. But it's still extraordinary from the days when there was none of this around. So I've often talked about these blue coat schools. That was just the different coloured uniforms they used to wear in these charity schools. You often see them outside buildings. There we go, look at that, yes. I didn't realise around the other side they've actually got the statue of the guy in the blue coats. So it's rather wonderful. Yes, 1709, you see, so that building is from. Terrific, it's just like it just landed there amongst all this. So just further along here, it now becomes Caxton Street, and this is Caxton Hall, named after William Caxton, who was the pioneer of printing, who had his offices a couple of hundred yards away. It's kind of the same thing that town halls would be used for. People get married in there, political events, meetings. Roger Moore was married in there, and so was Diana Dawes, Joan Collins, Ringo Starr, Peter Sellers. They all got married here, but it was a kind of celebrity location to get married in back in the day. It's rather beautiful, isn't it? This is where the suffragettes used to come and meet, and they'd have their political meetings here, and then they'd go on a rally from here over to Parliament to present their petitions, like they did in 1910 on Black Friday. In fact, there's a little monument to them over there in this little garden. And it was also here in 1940, there was the famous assassination of Sir Michael O'Dwyer, who was the governor of the Punjab. Udham Singh, who was an Indian revolutionary, carried out the shooting here at a meeting of the East India Association to avenge a massacre that took place in India. He didn't attempt to escape. He just said, yep, fair cop governor, I did it. And they took him away and he was hanged in Pentonville prison. But he's now regarded as a national martyr in India.
Cockney feet mark the beat of history. Every street pins a memory down. Nothing ever could quite replace the grace of London.
Are you much of a fan of the Goons, Simon? I mean, have you even heard? It's a bit old-fashioned these days.
Before my time.
King Charles loved the Goon Show, I know that. Anyway, this is where they first performed, actually, upstairs in an informal capacity, and they used to all meet in here. So the Goons were a famous radio comedy show, and it had Spike Milligan, Harry Seacombe, Peter Sellers. There was that famous moment when Spike Milligan was going to collect his comedy award and Jonathan Ross was on stage and he said, oh, well, we've had a message from the Prince Charles then, now King Charles. So he was reading it out and he's saying, yes, I've loved the Goon Show ever since I was a child. They made me laugh so much. And Spike Milligan said, grovelling bastard. It's a very famous moment on British television. Now, just along here is, you join me along here, Simon, there's some very unusual shop. It's a supermarket. It's like a Jamaican supermarket. Sells groceries and luggage. I can add it to my favourite list of shops, like the one in Camden that sold football jerseys and vinyl LPs. It's so really weird. Danny Bossman.
Danny Big Boss, yes.
Danny Big Boss.
So we've always been a social supermarket. It's just that the stuff used to be donated, but now we buy it.
So is this a charity then?
Charity, yeah. Community garden, social supermarket, community cafe, and co-working space.
Right.
I helped over 1 million people during COVID, sending food to the hospitals, care homes, and the food banks. So you've got lamb patties, beef patties, and vegetable patties, which is all Jamaican. Then we've got plant-based dishes. We're relaunching the cafe, so by the end of April, everything will be fully functional and operational.
This whole area, though, 250 years ago, was completely different. It was all fields, and one of the few parts that was slightly built up was just this little road here. I think I've got a wonderful map, I'll show you. Hello! But you can just about make out this little bit on the map. It's just a little avenue of trees sort of along there, and opposite this fire station is the Greycoat Hospital. It's not really a hospital, it's actually a school. And it was started in 1698 by 8 parishioners, local parishioners, who all donated something like 65 pence to start up a charity for poor people. And they moved into here in 1701. This was actually the local workhouse in those days. But I think this central part is still original from around 1700. It's wonderful. And do you know who used to be a porter here? So who used to work as a porter here? Ho Chi Minh, before becoming the leader in Vietnam. He used to work as a porter here in 1913. And Eleanor Thornton, Simon, she's the person on whom they based the angel on the front of the Rolls Royce. You know, the figurine on the front of Rolls Royces. Simon, the sculptor, you've sculpted her, haven't you?
Yeah.
The Spirit of Ecstasy, whatever it was. She was one of the alumni here. Yes, we will often see these blue coat schools where they had these cheap dyed blue uniforms, but I think grey was also a very cheap uniform to come by, so that's why they're wearing grey uniforms here. I suppose it must be some way to distinguish between them. Anyway, let's go this way. We've come on to Horseferry Road. And Horseferry Road, as you might expect, did indeed lead to the horse ferry. If you go all the way up the end of this road, then that's where you used to have a horse pulling the ferry across the River Thames. But we're right opposite Channel 4 building, built in 1994. Do you know who designed that building, Simon? One of my favourite architects, Richard Rogers. You know, the guy who did the Pompidou Centre and the Lloyd's building. You can see he puts all the kind of things like lifts and air ducts and stuff on the outside to save space on the inside. And it's really cool because this is a Channel 4 building. If you walk along from there to there, the 4, it sort of dissolves. It looks really cool.
Sorry, is that the Channel 4 building, did you say?
Yeah.
I thought it was the BBC 2 one.
Oh, you're being funny. Are you
Yeah.
you're trying to develop a sense of humour,
I
Simon?
am trying.
Anyway, I shall see you over there in one moment. Just going past the London Scottish Regiment here, and which I'm quite fond of, because I don't know if you saw my how to ride a penny farthing video, but this is where I learnt to ride a penny farthing. There's a guy who teaches you how to do it, and you can ride around in their wonderful old drill hall inside there. When the original 1880s headquarters at Buckingham Gate became too dilapidated, the regiment didn't just move, they took the whole original Victorian drill hall with them. And he brought us out here and all the way up to Piccadilly Circus and to Buckingham Palace. I was terrified. But around the corner from here, down Elverton Street, this terrific building was built in 1928, originally for the Royal Horticultural Society, but now it's kind of like a sports centre for Westminster School. You know what they filmed here? That scene in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where Sean Connery and Harrison Ford are going to get the Zeppelin. You see them walking through the hall. It really looks like that kind of era. They also did Children of Men, that Clive Owen film, that was excellent. Pink Floyd, Comfortably Numb video, and Killing Eve, amongst others. I think it's really nice.
There's a little city flower every spring unfailing, growing in the crevices by some London railing.
This is Vincent Square. Actually, it's the only part of the old Tot Hill Fields that exists. You know, earlier on when we were outside the Greycoat School, I was saying it was all fields down here. It comes from Toot Hill, which meant a lookout mound or hill, and it stretched all the way down to the river in that direction. The only bit that survives from my old map for the 18th century is Vincent Square, which is being used now as playing fields for Westminster School. And just around the edge of it, actually, there's this house here. It's rather nice. It's got a plaque for Lord Duncan Sands. He's that guy, right, who was accused of being the headless man in the Duchess of Argyll photograph. There was this famous photograph of the Duchess of Argyll performing fellatio on somebody, but you couldn't see who it was. And Lord Denning was placed at the head of some investigation to establish who this man was who was doing it. They thought it was Douglas Fairbanks Jr., or the other person they thought it might be was Lord Duncan Sands, who lived here. But anyway, we shall never know whether it was really him or not, because, well, not until 2063, because the files are sealed until then. Something to do with official secrets or something.
Though it has a Latin name in town and countryside, we in England call it London Pride.
It's funny, those people from the Greycoat School over there, they still have grey uniforms all these years later. Amazing, isn't it? And look, on the corner of Regency Street, look, this is a very famous cafe here, Regency Cafe. It opened in 1946. It hasn't changed since. It's really similar inside. You can see why they use it a lot for films, but they often do have quite a big queue there, so probably have to choose the time carefully that you come down here. We got to get in there and have a full English. I mean, they've still got all the original Formica tables, that original lino. The prices are still pretty reasonable, actually. Well, for Westminster, anyway.
Pride has been handed down to us. London pride is a flower that's free. London pride means.
So this is the Vincent Room. This is where you can come and have a meal prepared by student chefs.
Cheflings.
It's just in front of yet more almshouses. Because, as we all know, a Joolz guide isn't a Joolz guide without an almshouse. I think that fell up there must be the person who founded it. It's 1656, Reverend James Palmer, was it? But I think this building is from 1880s. They loved a bit of red brick in Victorian times, didn't they? Yes, it feels like maybe an Oxford or Cambridge college has suddenly been transported just to here. It's beautifully kept. And it's right opposite St. Stephen's Church, Rochester Row, founded by Angela Burnett Coutts. She was the one who was the richest heiress in England, the daughter of the fellow who founded the bank, you know, Coutts up in the Strand. She was a friend of Charles Dickens, who used to come to this church, and also she proposed to the Duke of Wellington. She had something to do with the founding of the NSPCC, the RSPCA, so she was a great philanthropist. And when she died, she lay in state here in the church before she was transported to be buried at Westminster Abbey. And I believe Rochester Row is one of the few streets that you can still make out on that John Rock map that I've got from the 18th century. You still just see, yeah, because it curves around there past the school, like the Greycoat School is behind here, it curves around here. Just these almshouses, you can just about make them out on the map. That's all that was really here back 250 years ago.
Grey city, stubbornly implanted, taken so for granted for 1,000 years. Stay city, smokily enchanted.
I think it's either this one or that one. I think it's this one. You probably can't really recognise it looking at how it does now, but that is from Just 'Cause I Ain't Ever Had Nothing Worth Having, Never Ever Ever Ever. You know, the New Boots and Panties, the album by Ian Dury and the Blockheads. He's standing outside this old shop here, like with his son Baxter Dury, who's now actually also a singer. It's a shop that sold all sorts of second-hand clothes and things like that. It was called New Boots and Panties, his album, and the only thing that he ever used to buy brand new were pants and shoes. Everything else he bought second-hand. Knock me down with a feather, clever Trevor. Look, Victoria Station. I remember coming here as a child with my mother because we used to take the boat train to Italy. So you'd go from here to Dover, then across to Calais, and then get the boat all the way down, get the train all the way down to Italy. And look, originally it was two railway companies. So the one on the left, it says Southern Railway. I think that one was the Chatham line, was it? And then the other one was the Brighton line, or maybe I've got them the wrong way around or something like that. But there was a big wall. Actually, it still exists. There's this huge wall in the station, so that literally the two rival companies didn't have to look at each other. And this was also famously the place where people would go and wave goodbye to their sweethearts when they were going off to fight in the First World War at the front. And right next to it, I don't know if you can see it from here, just next to it, to the right, is the Grosvenor Hotel. That was London's first grand railway hotel, built in 1861. You can actually see all these famous people of the age, like kings and prime ministers and stuff. The busts up at the top there. And it's right opposite Little Ben, which was put here in 1892, although it's moved around a few times. I think he's rather splendid, kind of replica of Big Ben, although I know that Big Ben actually refers to the bell, so I don't know if Little Ben refers to the bell inside here. But it was put here because in the days when a lot of people didn't have watches and they had to run to catch their train at Victoria Station, they would need to know what time it was. So they put it here, and there's it's a poem on it. It says, "Little Ben's Apology for Summertime." It's quite nice, isn't it? Look at this. My hands you may retire or may advance. My heart beats true for England as for France. It would be correct during summertime here, but in wintertime it would be wrong, and it would be correct in France. Or is it the other way around? Anyway, something to do with daylight saving. A reference to the time for the fact that you could come and get the boat train to France from here. And look, we're just also outside the Victoria Palace Theatre. I mean, originally, this is one of the Frank Matcham theatres. He's the one who designed the Hackney Empire, the most famous theatre architect in London. Originally, it was a music hall for more rougher types. People from the barracks and stuff used to come here and watch these musical artists singing, "My old man said follow the van." People like Tom Carradine, you know. This dates from 1911, from when Frank Matcham brought it more up to date. For Edwardian times, I think they wanted it to be a little bit more suitable for the posh types, rather than these rougher types who used to go to the old music hall. So it was brought more up to date, and they put in this roof where it would open up and they could let out all the cigar smoke. And I think it's still in there, actually. People could breathe more clearly. That's Anna Pavlova on the top. She apparently was very superstitious, and she never would look upon her own statue. So whenever she came in, she'd never look at it.
Gay lady, Mayfair in the morning, hear the footsteps echo in the empty street.
Quite a disruptor, this cathedral, Westminster Cathedral, built in 1903. So it looks like a strip of bacon, doesn't it? Because it had all these different kind of buildings around it, and all up popped this thing. It's Catholic, and when that bell tower was first built. It was one of the tallest structures in London, and you could see right straight into the Buckingham Palace's garden. I don't think the royal family particularly appreciated that at the time. You can get a brilliant view from up there. You're allowed to go up there, you have to pay. You go up to the top, you get a wonderful panoramic view of London from up there, and inside you can actually see, it's just on the left, in the chapel of St George and English Martyrs, there's the preserved body of St John Southworth. He's actually wearing a mask and he's wearing clothes. Catholics, they often favour these relics of saints.
Your resistance toughening from the Ritz to the anchor and crown. Nothing ever.
Excellent, marvellous. Cheers, Simon. Cheers, everybody. I thoroughly enjoyed that. This pub is a really beautiful example of a Victorian pub, so well preserved. And they've got a wonderful dining room upstairs where you can see a division bell, which is that one where, because when politicians are in here drinking, they can, if they hear that bell, then it gives them 8 minutes to run over to Parliament and vote. If you enjoy the videos, don't forget to hit subscribe and go over to my website, joolzguides.com, where you can find out more about me and buy my merchandise, buy my book, leave donations, and watch lots more videos. See you next time. Cheers.
The pride of London town.